Welcome to the Boxing Podcast. We took a little bit of a break for the last couple weeks, but we are happy you tuned in. You're here. I'm Garrity and Trevor.
And I'm Trevor Sombrano.
So let's get into it. Let's get started.
Right.
We just came off of a pretty exciting weekend of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a new world champion. Well, new world champion of three of the belts.
Three of the belts, yeah.
Andy Ruiz Jr. What do you think of that fight?
What do I think of that fight? I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, I mean, I called out to my newsletter readers the exact opposite. Right. And I gotta say, I'm happy I was wrong. That was very fun as a fan to watch.
Andy Ruiz is a Southern California guy. Manny Robles is in Norwalk. I used to live in Norwalk. He's at Legends Boxing. Yeah. Manny Ruiz, I've known him since he was at The Rock. He was sometimes spent a lot of time at Jack Rabbit Boxing Academy. He trains.
I remember seeing him there.
Yeah, he trains. Obviously trains Andy. No, this is an incredible thing. This is also to say something that I think he said, which is you could just be a normal guy or girl and have a dream, and excuse me, everyone can be telling you that you're not gonna realize your dream, but if you stay focused, it can happen. So
I mean, what I think is also cool about the story was Andy Ruiz had been and just for anyone who doesn't know who he is. He was never a nobody. Like, you may hear from the mainstream media that he's this nobody fat guy who came in and surprised. Yeah. It was a shock. He was a fill-in opponent with about a month to go, maybe 5 weeks to go.
He has over 130 amateur fights.
Yeah. But he was a signed prospect on Top Rank for many years.
He was on the Mexican national team.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the guy he's been on platforms to see a lot of different
what I find interesting is as soon as he gets dropped by Top Rank, by Bob Arum, he has one fight with PBC on April 20th, just here in our backyard in Carson, California. And then a few days later, he gets the call that he's a replacement opponent after Jarrell Miller tests positive for 3 times for different PED.
For different PEDs.
And think about who's missing out the most of this whole situation is Bob Arum.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, Bob wasn't gonna be able to manage him right. I mean, he definitely wasn't gonna. He wasn't in a position to give him a look like this just because he's not. I mean,
but how beautiful it is that things worked out. What may have seemed like a speed bump in his career ended up being what he needed to. And he's got to thank Jarrell Miller for
Big Baby Miller. I think that part of Big Baby Miller wakes up the next day or even after watching the fight, and he has to think to himself, "Man, I really blew this, right?" Yeah. Now, there's something to be said.
But I don't think he does the same thing to him.
No, I don't either. I mean, there's something.
He doesn't have that explosiveness. He doesn't have that speed. He doesn't have that
speed. You know, speed is an equalizer. I think more so with the big men than we were probably led to believe. We keep on. Everyone's so power sort of hungry, or we're always talking about power as being one of the factors that come into play, particularly with the heavyweight division. But here you had a guy that come in and they'll say Mexican style, which is basically more or less saying that he's willing to let his hands go in exchange. Yeah. And letting his hands go, and he's quick, and he's a good counter puncher, and he got Anthony Joshua hurt. I do think that AJ loses this fight though, based on his ego, and I say that because after Anthony Joshua knocked him down with the left hook, I think that Anthony Joshua maybe perhaps in the peripheral or in the subconscious was thinking about the dominant performance of Deontay Wilder that Deontay had against Dominic Breazeale, and maybe probably should have gotten back on Andy and probed him a little bit and took his time, but instead hopped back in there. Looks like he's trying.
And that second knockdown,
Andy caught him right there on the temple.
Right.
Hurt him. Andy being the smart guy, Andy did not look hurt to me when he got knocked down with the left hook. Because the angle that he took the left hook it seemed like Andy was just off balance. He got caught with the left hook. When you're sturdy and you get caught with the left hook, those ones hurt you. When it was almost like it just pushed.
Because that first left hook set it up, but it wasn't until there was another one, and then a kind of a sloppier right hand that actually put him on his way down. Yeah, you're right. He wasn't as hurt on that first.
No,
one as
you could see that
he
had, but you could see that. Well, I'm talking about Andy. You could see when he went down that he had.
Andy's going down.
When Andy had his wits about him.
Yeah, so, he was on his knee. He was patient,
he was
ready
fine.
to go.
His eyes were there, and I don't think that AJ. AJ obviously came over from the pond. They sold out Madison Square Garden. Looked incredible. The show looked incredible. He's obviously AJ's still a star. He's got that stardom with him. He has the responsibility of
He'll
wanting
sell
to put
tickets
on
in his next fight for
a certain type of show.
But that goes back to Andy's ability to take that knockdown and compose himself and just kind of collect. He was just on a knee for a second. He was ready to come back. That goes back to that Southern California, that fighting Mexican style, that experience that he's had, which Anthony Joshua maybe has never has bell rung as bad in a sparring session. You know what I mean? He is newer to the game. He joined boxing at 18. Mm-hmm. He makes the Olympics in 2012 in a fast run. Yeah. He's probably been, worshipped by coaches and been kind of.
You could say it.
Perfectly untouched for a long time.
Perhaps.
And he's not ready. He's not ready for it when it happens.
Perhaps breastfed.
Perhaps.
In a little bit.
Everything.
Not to, but almost like an infant, and he wanted to protect an infant. And although he was doing things which were incredible, like he beat Klitschko, he did beat a Vladimir when he was in an
older Vladimir, right.
40s, right?
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from AJ. I certainly thought AJ was going to win this fight. But just looking at the rounds that we can look at before anybody got hurt, and looking how the fight was going, it already seemed to me in the beginning of the rounds, although it was very very fast fight, that Andy Ruiz brought some looks to the table that AJ hadn't seen before. Specifically, a guy that could counterpunch and that was busy. Mm-hmm. And in
the heavyweight division, you don't find as many. You find big brawlers, but you don't find guys who can counterpunch. Yeah. I mean, it's something that's lost at that higher weight class. Is not prioritized.
Deontay Wilder's a bit of a counterpuncher, but he's like a
little wilder.
It's like an accidental counterpuncher. It's not so much like the sweet science based off of like just something that's innate and instinctive.
Like a timing move. It's
like
more
just
of
like it's just like
I was throwing a shot at the same time and
I
yours
see
missed,
that shot and I'm Wilder. I was born to be the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah.
And he just literally steps back and counters you. But I don't think that it's not like where you see Andy is slipping a shot and he's throwing a cross or something on top of it. Something that we've seen him practice on pads with Manny Robles, or that he's worked on or refined over the duration of his career. So it's
how about Manny Robles? Yeah,
man, this is incredible.
He put a ton of work in this one. Yeah. He's a local guy that we've seen putting work with.
Yeah. Manny's a great guy.
Many guys throughout the years.
Yeah.
We're happy for Andy Ruiz. We're also happy for Manny.
Yeah, I'm excited for Manny.
You can see how excited he was in the ring after when he was jumping up and down.
Everybody's excited for Manny because, being a trainer and being involved in boxing, seeing how Manny went about it. Manny's father, he obviously was a trainer. Manny himself was a fighter. Manny coming up, being part of the 2012 Olympic team for Team USA. He was actually, brought on by Coach Joe, right, Zanders. So looking at his whole process to get here in 2019, Manny's obviously, he was with Oscar Valdez. He had Quigley, he had a lot of
guys.
He's got Charles Martin still, was another heavyweight that had a belt that would beat Glasgow.
Question: was
Dominic Brazil
was still with him or not anymore?
Dominic had not gone back, but it ended up with Virgil.
Okay.
Andre
oh yeah, that's right.
So
how interesting it would have been if you had
Manny Robles.
I know that, yeah.
Yeah. So think of the bigs that he's had. He's had Dominic Brazil. He still Charles Gaucher is.
He still has him.
Yeah. You still got Charles Gaucher, who just fought Austin Trout.
Quigley. Mick Conlon left him.
Yeah, Oscar Valdez.
Oscar Valdez was the biggest one.
Ended up with the Reynosos.
It's almost beautiful though, because he had so many guys back when he was at the Rock. He had so many guys. It almost felt like, how do you maintain all these camps at once when you have all these guys fighting that are big signed promoted guys? And now there's focus. That this partnership worked. This camp obviously worked very well in these two camps right in a row. He had fought in April, fought right away. Yeah. Now it almost seems perfectly timed because maybe he'll have a chance to focus on one fight. He is a world champion now with 3 belts. Maybe he can focus on one guy and it'll take it even further.
Manny, I think, is got a team. His brother-in-law. Yeah. I always say his name wrong. Is it? Esposito or
I don't know. I think it's Estrella on Instagram or something. But
here's the thing is that Manny. There's a moment where you look at Manny and Manny's essentially almost like in tears, right? Because this has happened. And he talks about anybody that knows his story. You know, I don't know if a lot of people know this about Manny Robles, but when he was training Abner Mares' brother, Speedy Mares, was in Tijuana and gotten kidnapped in Tijuana. You know about this? Yeah, he got kidnapped in Tijuana.
Manny did or
Manny Robles did.
Mm.
And he got kidnapped, and they took him hostage from his hotel. And, you know, I know a lot about the story just because I remember reading about it. I talked to Manny about it one time at The Rock. Got kidnapped, and they knew where he lived at the time. They knew everything about his family. Manny at the time was working with Chris Pearson. It was a TMT prospect. He also was working with Terrell Gachet. He was involved with a lot of real big, these, you know, with the pre-show fight. I forget what they call them, but, oh, God, it's going to...
Undercard?
No,
pre-show.
Oh, you know, when the one that we went to Vasily Lomachenko.
What the event we went to?
Where the press comes. What do they call that?
The media day.
Media day. Thank you. He was involved with the media day. I know.
Bro, we are the media now.
Yeah, we are the media, right. So no, he was involved with the media day for TMT for a Floyd fight, and maybe they saw him on that, but they kidnapped him. Manny was in a position where he actually fought his way away from the kidnappers.
That's wild.
Yeah, real wild.
What year is this?
This is probably, it's about 5 years ago, 6 years ago,
okay.
Quite some time ago. But when Manny Robles is on, you know, when he's there, I think for the majority of people, they don't actually know when he says, "Man, anybody that knows my story, anybody that knows how much I've sacrificed to boxing, anybody who knows how hard this has been." You know, the first thing I thought of was, man, I know what this guy's talking about. The guy got kidnapped essentially over boxing. I mean, you know, not to mention just the regular obstacles and hurdles.
I mean,
yeah.
Let's think about it. I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't be taking any more prospects down to Tijuana.
Oh, no, I think he never did.
Now he's world famous in a sense,
yeah.
you know?
He definitely shouldn't be going to Tijuana now.
Yeah.
So especially if they get the rematch. Which they will. Which the rumor is that Andy Ruiz asked for $50 million bucks.
Yeah.
So just imagine, you know.
So what happens now? So DAZN, this new streaming app, ton of money, huge runway for attaining user growth, a ton of money to spend before they possibly break even. That's
supposedly they have broken even.
Well, here's the deal. The deal. That's not really important because this isn't like a venture capital finance podcast. But what I want to talk about is the biggest signee is, well, it's probably Canelo, but the first big one was AJ.
Right.
So now AJ is not the A side in this second fight.
Well, he's the A side.
Does this happen on an Al Heyman PBC show?
No.
Or does this happen on a DAZN show?
This goes to DAZN. Listen, AJ's gonna be the A side because he puts asses in the seats, right?
If they have it in UK, of course.
But we also have to be realistic about that we have a first Mexican American heavyweight champion.
So there's plenty of asses that'll go into seats in Texas, in Los Angeles,
as I checked, and
almost anywhere.
We could probably have Daniel take a look. Before the fight, I think he had 30,000. Andy Ruiz had 30,000 followers. As of yesterday, I think it's 800,000.
I remember seeing it. He jumped
Instagram. Yeah.
He jumped I think like 300,000 or something.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I saw it side by side. I think it was
now he has 800.
Yeah. So
he's already up since then.
But
But at one point I saw it was like 3 to like 7 I had seen.
Yeah.
On play by play.
Just thinking about that, Andy Ruiz is the first Mexican American champion. This means a lot. Yeah. He could definitely sell out Vegas easily. Could probably sell out Texas, right?
I want him to get that Snickers endorsement he's been working hard on. But what I would, if I were his team, I would advise him stop giving away all the publicity to Snickers for free because he had been doing that so hard since his fight in Carson when the story kind of blew up and then he was on social media. I mean, if you followed him during the camp.
It's the thing about Andy Ruiz and whether or not he eats the Snickers bar after a fight, right?
It was a good gimmick.
I'm pretty sure he does. I mean, his body doesn't say that he doesn't eat it, the Snickers bar, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. Andy Ruiz, you really want to pull for the guy.
Hell yeah.
Because I mean, he just didn't beat Anthony Joshua. He dropped him 4 times.
Right.
He made him quit.
Right.
Let's not sugarcoat this. AJ is in that corner. To me,
he's not answering the ref.
To me, after the second stoppage, or the second knockdown. I thought it could have stopped then because AJ to me wasn't acting right. But I thought, okay, well, this is a ref. This is Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
I'm the ref, and I understand this is Madison Square Garden. I understand that DAZN's this huge show. I understand why we're here. He's also the champion. So I can get my mind past that. But no, he made... And this is to talk about an AJ rematch with Andy Ruiz about, the insecurity and vulnerability of knowing somebody dropped you 4 times.
Who knows, yeah. And you'll be gunshot going into that second rematch, even though the odds might say that you're more prepared. You're still going to be ready for that.
I don't blame Andy for wanting $50 million to go over the pond because the pond is famous for ripping fighters off that have won fights, particularly with even when you looked at the cards. Let's not forget that they had
one person had him up,
and the other one had him even. Right? How do you have this going down? You got a cat that's been But I'm just saying. To me, it was obvious that Andy Ruiz from the beginning was winning the fight. So they already are going to play favoritism. Andy Ruiz.
Well, he impressed in let's say round 1 and 2. He impressed.
Right.
This was
3 he takes off.
Yeah.
But he's still who's pushing the action.
He was pushing the action.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
AJ's not pushing the action. So, but why?
But what I was going to say
he's
was
supposed to have 1, 2, and 3.
The incumbent effect. In 1 and 2, even though I do see stuff I like out of Andy, I still see why AJ gets the 10 on that first round.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta look at the fight. I can't remember. I thought that Andy Ruiz won the first round, but
but it's easy to give yourself the because remember they're scoring in live time, but it's easy to give yourself the
But even talking about this, knowing that if he goes back to the UK, which I'm sure he will, the money has to be right because Eddie Hearns is not in a position to throw away his investment with AJ.
Right.
That just
and his whole thing with DAZN really is
based
predicated
on AJ.
On a few stars.
Listen,
and for AJ it's AJ.
AJ is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
It also, they left money on the table big time with Deontay Wilder, as far as a mega fight where they could have gotten their money back. Do I think the Andy Ruiz AJ rematch does some great numbers? Absolutely. I think there's going to be much more of an interest in watching Andy Ruiz fight next time, and more people are going to sign up.
Now I was in Mexico these last when we didn't record podcast. I was in Mexico for the last 2 weeks, and. Albeit I wasn't in necessarily like a sporty area and going out to the most sporty bars, but I did ask some people about Andy Ruiz, and people didn't know about him. I mean, granted, I was probably in kind of younger, hipper bars, not like at the cantinas where the fucking fight fans, whatever it might be. But that being said, on this second fight, whether or not DAZN is going, how Sky Sports takes on these and they sell them over in the package. In UK, second time around, everyone in Mexico is gonna know.
Yeah, I mean Andy's gonna be a star, man. He was on Jimmy Kimmel. The guy's a star now, right? I mean Snickers will probably endorse him. Snickers, if you're listening and you don't endorse him, you guys more or less are getting yourself.
No,
because
Andy Ruiz,
you have a superstar in front of you, which is Andy Ruiz.
So we've talked about in the past on this podcast thematically how. Being good looking, being fit, being ripped, being light skinned are all of these things that end up being that pretty boy image that advertisers want. I'm going to say that Andy Ruiz has a different reason why. He bonds so well with Mexicans, right?
Right.
First Mexican heavyweight champion. Every time that guy got a shot, Chris Arreola had a chance, he went up for a title, we thought, okay, maybe this will be the first match. People got his, the history behind... is this the time we finally get one? Andy Ruiz was a fill-in opponent. That story started being made. Well, we get our first Mexican champion.
They're calling him Mexican Rocky.
And it did happen, but here's the other thing. You see Andy
Which
Ruiz,
I think is crazy because he's not the Mexican Rocky.
He's better than
He's
that
much
thing.
better. The guy was on the national team.
He has one loss. He was signed a top rank for 5 years.
I don't know what his amateur career was. I remember paying attention to Andy Ruiz when he beat Joe Hanks, who's another guy that was out of the Rock and Carson. I know that he had a tough fight against the other heavyweight from New Zealand, Australia. What's his name? Joyce?
Joe Joyce is British. Joseph Parker.
Joseph Parker, thank you. Yeah. So when he had a tough fight against Joseph Parker,
Right.
I actually thought the fight could have gone either way. So that was.
But he was in his backyard. In New Zealand.
Right.
So
I thought that Andy had edged him out that night. But I didn't see that Andy was going to beat AJ. So, and that's just keeping it real.
But what I was going to say about the marketability of this guy, obviously, he could sell anything to Mexicans. Mexicans are huge. They're proud of this moment. But also, you listen to the guy talking on Jimmy Kimmel. He also represents like most of America too.
Mm-hmm.
We know that he's claiming that this fight for Mexico and for Mexicans, as he should, because it's a big historical moment for his heritage. But he's so like almost every American. Look, he's overweight. He's ambitious. He likes his Snickers. He's charming. He's funny. I don't see why not.
He doesn't
become a poster child for Mexico and America.
He shows up to work because he has to work.
Right.
He definitely
he
thanking God.
Yeah.
Like you could tell, like he got his relationship with God. It seems like a very religious guy, but I'm like the guy.
He seems like a humble guy.
The guy's very lovable. He's very marketable.
In the post-fight interviews, he was doing a lot of
It's also like
humility.
You gotta. These are the kind of moments like Rudy, right? The movie. You want the underdog to win, but it's not.
But what I want people to appreciate this moment. He was a big underdog because he was a late fill-in opponent. Mm-hmm. No one actually had put him on any hot list when we were thinking about who's going to be the replacement after Gerard Miller. But what I don't want people to think, I don't want the average American to think, oh, this is a Mexican butterbean, because he's not. He is a prospect. Yes, he's fat, but he has fast hand speed. He was a nationally ranked amateur. He was on a national team for Mexico. He was with Top Rank. He was, a huge prospect for many years.
Yeah.
He had a quick speed bump when he fought a fight that he probably won against Joseph Parker. He could have won against Joseph Parker, but that's it. There's nothing else. But the thing about boxing is that people don't necessarily know everyone but the top three names up until they get that chance. So that'll work against him a little bit, but he'll get a chance to explain himself.
In a perfect world, I hope that Andy Ruiz gets a rematch. I hope that he beats AJ. I think that he can beat AJ.
He will get a rematch. You hope that he gets the 50 mil.
I hope he gets the 50 mil. I want the world for the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
I want Manny Robles. I want all these guys to win. They all deserve to win.
What's changed? What's changed?
I mean,
how do you go from he's got a shot in the world to beat AJ?
I didn't think that he had a shot. That's being honest.
So I don't know what's changed.
Those four knockdowns, and that chin that he showed in round 3.
The thing about it is that I wish I could have said that I paid a lot of attention to Andy Ruiz. I watched a couple of his fights. I've always thought, man, this guy's got quick hands. But at the end of the day, this idea of the new American heavyweight or the new heavyweight.
Tall enough, we thought.
Everyone's they're 6'5", 6'6", 6'8", 6'9". They're all monsters. And then they're all for the most part physical specimens. But Tyson Fury even is in his own way a physical specimen, even if he doesn't have all the muscles. He's long, he's elastic, he's fluid, he's quick, he's agile. He still has something in this athleticism that if you look at when you watch him move, you go, man, I can't believe a big man can move like that. So I could still wrap my head around that. Watching Andy, Ruiz train and so forth, he fights like, hey, I'm gonna let my hands go. He's smart though. I mean, there was definitely things I was watching him do in the fight. Particularly where he was keeping himself lined up with AJ, which was, to me, he was keeping himself to the right of AJ's lead foot a lot of times, and how he was setting up the 1-2 and, changing levels, setting up the jab to the body. I could definitely see that there was some cerebral, everything that he was doing was with intent, and there was some purpose behind it. I wasn't completely sold on AJ. I was the last person to be sold on AJ. It wasn't until AJ beat Klitschko that I signed off and I said, wow, AJ's the real deal. Especially because that itself looked like a movie out of Rocky. They both have been dropped. They got up. They're hurting themselves. You have this old icon, the greatest, one of the greatest heavyweights of his generation, which were him and his brother, the Klitschkos. And it was this back and forth war, and he edged him out. And I said, man, how do you not believe in this guy? This guy's the real deal. We don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, even if you're involved with boxing, we have a better idea But I think that what makes this sport so exciting, and sports in general, is that once the lights are on and they're underneath the lights, anything can happen.
How boring would it be if I was right every time?
Right. So I mean
that's what made it such an enjoyable fight to watch.
But no, you're right. If you in your gut think, hey Trevor, you're a little bit full of shit because you thought that AJ was just going to blow through this guy. Yeah, no, I absolutely.
I was just asking what's changed.
Well, but
I'm just saying what changed your perspective.
The other thing that I kept wrapping my head around, I don't know if it's a possibility, is that when you got these real bigs that we're seeing, these real big heavyweights, and what happens when all of a sudden you're dealing with this short guy that can crack you with the overhand right, that has advantages of getting underneath you and looping the shot up there to hurt you on the temple. The thing about most of the short guys in the division, as far as skill wise, and Andy Ruiz isn't short. I think he's 6'2", but still short by comparison to
when we didn't think he was gonna be, because
yeah,
we're at a point in time now where
short
guys
compared
are
to
6'6",
yeah,
you know,
6'8", 6'9",
yeah,
but short to the heavyweight division. But what happens when all of a sudden you're dealing with a guy that actually knows his distance, knows where he can be dangerous, knows how to
use what he has,
knows how to collapse the distance, get close to you, and knows how to loop the shot. You've seen him setting up the overhand right. You've seen him, getting underneath him and firing the hook on top.
Right.
You see him letting his hands go, and where he's letting his hands go. Would the bigs be able to deal with a little man that is basically they're getting looped on top and having to defend from that?
But you're not ready for coming from a little man. So
I mean,
if today's heavyweights haven't seen that,
I think too that there's listen, Anthony Joshua and I do think that Deontay Wilder factors into this fight. This is how I think that Deontay factors into the fight. Deontay's performance against Dominic Breazeale, which looked absolutely like something. I mean, like God himself has decided that he's going to come down and give Deontay, hey, go ahead and you can have my power.
No, it looked like Deontay ripped the mask off
and your right hand, right? Like it looks like he's just like it's something crazy. I honestly think this is the hardest hitting heavyweight that I've ever seen. And you being AJ, you knowing your performance against Dominic Breazeale, then you saying, hey, look, here's my next big fight. I'm at the Madison Square Garden. Deontay just fought himself in New York, saying, hey, I too am a star, and I'm going to put on a performance just like that mirrors your performance, that lets you know that I'm just as bad as you. I think that might have played out in some ways, and AJ might have hurried the process. AJ, what I was sort of surprised about is that when he got himself in a position that was hot, he continued to try to box, right? Which I thought was a bad move. I think if you're a big man,
and he also stayed in the corner. Even though he was trying to box, he wasn't moving his feet. So pick one or the other.
Lennox Lewis
fight right back, or are you gonna box?
But even Vlad and Vitaly Klitschko, you watch these guys get in trouble. The big men from little guys, whether it be Hasim Rotman or although they didn't earn obviously knocked out Lennox in the fight. But when we're talking about in the first fight, but Lennox came back and got his revenge, his redemption. If you're looking at these fights, most big men when they're in trouble do what? Grab. They physically they force the contact. They start laying on their opponent. They start, this is Klitschko 101.
I mean, he had that leverage he should have been using, right?
But he continued to try to box with the guy that ultimately, if Anthony Joshua ever were to run across this podcast, which I'm sure he wouldn't, but if he does, Anthony Joshua.
Yo, we're big in the UK.
Yeah, you be more physical. If you start to feel uncomfortable, take a page out of the Klitschko's book, and realize that you're probably not as good as boxing as you think you are. The other thing that came into my mind about this matchup that I thought was really interesting was that Anthony Joshua doesn't have a very developed heavyweight style, that he himself sort of rocks back and forth. And I thought it was really interesting because Andy Ruiz, being a Mexican,
he had that
has been able to deal with this style his whole life. Andy Ruiz has seen that sort of movement.
He knows where to find.
He knows exactly how to find the timing, like a metronome. It was something that, and then if you look at not to get too hard on AJ, but AJ, honestly, I think my best advice is to switch trainers. If you look at AJ and where AJ likes to hold himself. AJ likes to hold himself in front, letting him get exposed to what Andy Ruiz could do to him, versus being, you know, more seated in the back and having a position that would make him seem bigger because he was kind of in front like this.
Who does Anthony Joshua train with? Do we know?
I don't know, but he should fire the whole team.
Yeah.
No, literally. Like I never thought that the things that I liked about Anthony Joshua is that I know that he was a gunner. He was when he got you hurt, he let his hands go, and that he was physical, he was strong, and obviously, you know, that it seemed like his, and it still does, his head
Which
is
is what we
straight.
thought after that first knockdown where he caught Ruiz.
Yeah. But
we thought, oh shit, here it comes.
The big men are different. Deontay Wilder talks about this, about not needing to be a great boxer. Deontay says this all the time.
Yeah.
I think with the big men, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're the best boxer. But just to be honest here, you're talking about Tyson Fury, the matchup that he had with Deontay Wilder. In my opinion, I thought that Tyson Fury won that fight against Deontay, outboxed him, outclassed him, used the sweet science, made him neutralize them, made him look foolish at times, made him uncomfortable, using a boxing acumen.
Right.
Same thing with Andy. Why was Andy so successful? Or, you know, it probably goes back to boxing. But
right. He beat him with boxing.
AJ should fire the staff, man.
He was able to take away the
get a real trainer. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
We would love to have you at Jackrabbits if you want to come on down. I mean, listen. But in all honesty, how he holds himself, why a big guy would be rocking, swaying side to side, it doesn't make any sense. And also to know, look, it does make a lot of sense knowing that Andy Ruiz, being a Mexican fighter, even a Mexican-American fighter, he's seen that style thousands of times.
Yeah.
So
that's what he's... What's up?
No, I was going to ask the fan question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A fan question?
User submitted question.
User submitted?
Because you have a question too, right? You have questions?
No.
You have one?
They didn't come in with it. Go ahead and bring yours in.
This is from my friend Gian. And he asked, let me say this again. I'm going to set it up better. So this is from This is from Gian from Daniel Gian Talk YouTube channel. He submitted a question. He said, with Andy Ruiz shocking the world on Saturday as replacement fighter, how much of his win could be attributed to a lack of preparation on Joshua's part? Does a change of opponent so soon before a fight really affect strategy?
Yeah, I think if you're dealing with Big Baby Miller, and Big Baby Miller for the most part is a slick New York, what I would call a cutesy fighter. You know, he's also, if you watch him, he fights
cutesy, but that he's not going to be the kind of guy that will pounce the way he did in round three.
He's going to try to break you down. He's going to try to hold.
He's better for AJ style.
He's going to hold. I think so too. Yeah, he's going to hold the line. He's not going to be as disruptive. Do I think it matters though? Listen, yeah, it matters, but at this level, something about
you're the world champion.
You're the world champion. It's also to know that these guys, when we're talking about getting prepared for fighters and what you're going to look at, I think, you know, thinking about Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather says, "Hey, look, I don't watch tape on guys." This is something that Floyd had said. Same thing about Floyd Sr. had said. A lot of fighters have said that they don't watch tape on guys. The reason that I suspect they're not watching tape on guys is because you really don't know what kind of look you're going to get that night. Now, I can call bullshit. No matter who you are, if you're a fighter in a division, you've watched other fighters fight in that division, whether there be a division underneath you or a couple divisions above, anybody that you know could possibly be on your radar. You as a fighter are going to be watching these guys. Trainers are going to be watching these guys to sort of see what makes these guys successful. But you're also, you know, you've also seen so many different looks. I'm sure you've sparred Russians. I'm sure you've sparred, you know, Ukrainians, which are a little bit different than Russians, although they're from the same place. You're obviously Mexicans. I'm sure you moved around with Argentinians. You moved around with black fighters. They all, you know, for the most part, come with different styles, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah, never Ukrainian, but Russian, yeah.
Yeah. It never, and maybe Armenian probably, but like it never.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Things are going to be a little different. When these guys are getting looks like this, you know, as far as we're looking at preparation, by the time you're AJ.
Are you trying to say that AJ on the other side of the pond has never fought a Mexican?
No,
probably likely.
Maybe he's never fought a Mexican, but I am.
And there's not that many in the heavyweight division, so that's another element to this whole thing.
But I'm saying that AJ certainly had seen something that probably could have reminded him of what it is that Andy Ruiz brings to the table. I'm not going to sign off and say that he wasn't prepared for Andy Ruiz. I think that's bullshit. I'd heard that he was depressed, that he had some sort of meltdown rumor that's going around. That's not applicable. Listen, if you got a meltdown,
imagine anyone who's not nervous.
The Drake curse, right? Champagne Poppy. I
mean, that's just funny internet.
Yeah,
That's just,
but here's
good
another
banter.
thing that's going on. The Drake curse is going on. That the guy looked like, it looks like he was gonna cry. Didn't look like he was up for the night. It wasn't being
Sorry.
himself.
I mean,
listen,
you're ready for a fight. If,
there's
who doesn't have some level of nerves before a fight?
things that are going
Right.
on at all times. People are passing away. Communities these people or fighters come from. Bad shit's happening at home. People have cancer. You're still a fighter, right? It's nobody. If you're working a job at AAA and you're selling travel insurance, nobody's gonna look back at you and say, "Oh, you didn't make your travel insurance numbers that day because this is going on." So if Anthony Joshua did have anything going on, he shouldn't have gone out there and fought.
No, he should have, but it's
Well,
not an excuse.
the rumors is that Eddie Hearns pushed him out there to go fight. I had heard a rumor that he got knocked out, right?
Also,
in camp.
Also,
Yeah,
I think I did hear both those rumors. They were
but-
going around on Facebook the following couple of days.
But
I also think I think none of that has been made official, so it doesn't.
I mean, I don't officially. If you're part of that
No
camp,
excuses.
If you're part of that camp, let's say I'm training you, and I know these things happen, and they get back to us, right? I mean, listen. One, I got an allegiance to you. I got a responsibility to you, and I got to make sure that you're in the best mindset. So I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to come out and say, well, Garrity was heartbroken, or Garrity, something bad happened to him, or Garrity's just going through some shit. Because I got to make my fighter still seem like he's the fighter.
Yeah.
That he's ready for war, right? The thing is that I would never expect them to come out. And some of these things, it's like the Mike Tyson documentary. Mike Tyson came out, and this documentary, I can't remember, it was a Trevor Burbick, but he basically comes out and says that he can barely piss because of gonorrhea, right? You know about this before?
No.
So before one of Mike Tyson's fights, he's talking about that he's sweating up a storm, that he's hotter than hell, that he's got like 1 or 2 STDs, and he can barely piss because of gonorrhea, and he goes out there and beats the fight. Listen, had things not gone Mike's way, I doubt that DK, Don King, and everybody that's involved with Mike lets you know that Mike has gonorrhea and STD. It just sounds like excuses. He's definitely seen fights. I think that preparation comes into play, but definitely not come on, you're the heavyweight champion of the world. If you haven't figured it out by now, that you're going to see different looks. If you're under the assumption that you're going to see one look and guys aren't coming with different plans or not coming to be something different.
But let's be fair to AJ and to Eddie Hearn. Mm-hmm. Those rumors haven't been made official.
Yeah.
So they're not claiming that. And if they are, who cares? You're the champion of the world.
But to follow up,
and
for the rematch,
huge underdog.
A full camp beforehand, do you think that changes the result of the second fight?
I don't.
I think he's a little shook, but
I don't. Listen. When a fighter, this is when we get to see if AJ's really a fighter, right? It's like anything else. You can see an incredible fighter. Some of these young guys, even some of the young guys I work with, I see them just complete dominant performances out there as young amateurs. I still haven't seen them have a moment like
come off the canvas moment,
like Castillo did with Floyd, or the Shane Mosley with Floyd, where it's like, man, I just see my man get rocked by a hell of a shot, and he still stays composed. He still stays so focused that he's able to come out there. I also like Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis gets gets stopped by Hasim Rotman. Lennox Lewis comes out in the rematch and just destroys Hasim Rotman. This is going to say more about who AJ is and his legacy and whether or not he's the real deal. I can't just automatically assume that he's going to have that in him. That doesn't make any sense. But if he does, this is when we start having conversations about him being the great, and we'll throw his name back in there with Deontay. And the same thing goes for Wilder. If someone were to hurt Wilder like that, and Wilder, and Luis Ortiz obviously being the one that comes to mind.
I think Wilder has
I think he had that moment with
rocked, yeah.
He had that moment with Luis Ortiz. I mean, Luis Ortiz is a hell of a puncher. And I can't imagine Luis Ortiz could have caught Deontay better than he caught him in that fight. He was able to endure it. He had the mental fortitude, and he had the mindset that it didn't become a problem. AJ, he got dropped 4 times. I don't know about you, but any guy that dropped me 4 times, I got to go, and then I got to get the rematch. It's going to be different.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be able to write it off as I just got caught with some dumb shit because I wasn't focused. I could write if I get caught with a shot.
Let's not take away the whole internet's laughing at there's in a fun way we all love this underdog story. We all love the look of there's all those jokes out there that fuck it, I'm not going to the gym no more. Look at it, check this out.
I think that shit's funny.
But that's all great and good humor. We don't want to take anything away from Ruiz because we know he's an excellent boxer. But what I'm saying is that part of that, a guy who takes his image pretty seriously, you don't need to have a six-pack in the heavyweight division, and he has one anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean,
that's got to fall in. He's a superstar god, a Greek god in his country. Yeah. That's got to fall in the image. I got fucking rocked by a 5-week fill-in replacement opponent. Psychologically, he's gonna remember that. He's gonna be gun-shy.
Listen. You look at AJ's body, you look at his physique, it's everything about him. The guy's a physical specimen. Look, this is new to boxing, anyways. Like he was literally that. Just if we're gonna be honest from boxing from an historical perspective, that super body that he had, that just literally ripped up, monster body. That's a new model. I mean, Tyson sure had a lot of muscles, but he wasn't just this. He wasn't Goliath.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't.
The Klitschko's were pretty.
But they look like swimmers. They look like Michael Phelps, but they're fit.
I don't know.
But they're not as muscular. They're not as vascular.
Well, they don't have the shadows, bro. They're white.
Yeah. But I'm just saying. Here's the thing about AJ. Somebody. I'd seen a photo of AJ when he was younger. And I still, in my gut, think that this guy, it just doesn't make sense to me how you put on that many pounds of muscle in that short period of time. I still think that perhaps AJ was on performance-enhancing drugs.
Oh.
It just, I don't see it.
Well, luckily we don't have to say that as an excuse because the man on the Snicker diet did beat him, so we can all be happy for that. That's a
and we know Big Miller was on it, but I just like just keeping it real with AJ. I'm not see what the demands of boxing, sparring, hitting bags, hitting pads, running, sprinting, being in the pool, whatever the yogas, because all kinds of people are doing all kinds of things.
Kinds of new stuff these
days. Then you're also going to put on 30 or 40 pounds of muscle, lean muscle like that, and look like a monster. Like, okay, well, who else has been able to do it like that?
Not many people have taken that model.
Yeah, not many people. So it's just being honest.
And this will probably play in years down the road, playing back to that old boxing stereotype of don't lift weights because it's going to slow you down.
And the UK guys can't. Apparently, this is not something we haven't seen. This is something that about UK guys not being able to take a punch. I mean, that's a whole nother thing if we want to go down that road.
Give me some other good examples. I'm trying to think. I mean, you're talking about Lennox Lewis, an example of that?
No, Lennox could take a punch. Lennox, to me, is one of the best heavyweights ever.
I was just saying, because you named up his
But he's by way of Jamaica to Canada and then to the UK.
Okay, so Nigeria But okay.
I looking at
he was Canada before UK. I thought he was.
He was in Canada. Right. Prince Nassim comes to mind. So little guy. But we're just talking about. Who was? I can't remember the heavyweight. Frank Bruno, he comes to mind. They were very big on Frank Bruno. They thought he was a monster, and he got something like AJ got clipped. I can't remember if it clipped him. I don't want to say Mike Tyson, but gosh, it's going to bother me. Anyways, the thing about it is that we got to see. So maybe I'm being a little bit too.
I'm excited. It's going to be November, December? Is that when it's going to be?
Yeah, November, December is coming up. Give Andy his $50 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, one other cool thing was, and you kind of hear this story a couple times throughout history, but his whole family bet on him, and they all took home nice little. So he made money that night.
Well, $100 would have got you $2,000, right?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't do enough betting, but yeah.
25 to 1. So.
Yeah, 25 to 1. So yeah, he told Jimmy that.
I bet you Floyd made money on that fight.
Floyd did. Yeah, that's a good story.
Money where he can just.
He
can bet enough to it'll wash out.
Yeah. He can hedge well on all those bets.
Yeah. I don't.
That's awesome.
I don't think it just a. Yeah, so we got to see. So there's some other fights that are coming up.
Yeah, we got this weekend. We got Triple G fighting.
Oh yeah, Gennadi's fighting. Although I don't know anything about the guy that Gennadi's
No one does. He's not much. I wrote an article today on boxingtldr.com, just kind of about what's at stake. To be honest, this fight doesn't really mean much for you and me, and all it really is an opportunity for him to make sure.
See Triple G with Jonathan Banks.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's kind of cool.
Make sure that the possibility of a Canelo trilogy, because that's all that really matters left for in Gennady's career. All that he's one more big payday left. Yeah. One more fight that people will show up in droves for is one with him.
So I hope in good fashion, like what Marquez did to Manny, that Canelo does the same thing to Triple G.
And finally ends it, huh?
He has nothing to really. I mean, I guess he can do the trilogy, but he has nothing in my book to prove to Triple G anymore. I thought that he won the first fight, although it was close, and I definitely know that he won the second fight. So what is this? So we're gonna make the fight happen just so because all these guys that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's not much reason for it. If you're Canelo, there's not much reason to take this fight.
Gennady, why is it that you got this other guy that's facing other names in the division? Whoever Canelo fights next, I'm sure is going to be a name, right?
It might be at 156, 58 and be like Caleb Smith. That's what it's looking like. But
is he gonna? Well, even there, that's still a much more difficult,
better name, yeah.
Difficult look than Triple G. I got to watch you fight either guys that I don't know who they are, like who's this guy, or fight Canelo and Danny Jacobs, right?
Well, that's exactly what I think is at stake in this fight. It really means nothing for any of us.
Nah,
this fight really means nothing between him and Steve.
I don't know. Yeah, but hey,
Steve, I forgot already, but it's a.
It'll be interesting to see the transition away from Abel Sanchez to Jonathan Banks, just because I was watching Jonathan Banks hold pads from him in the media there, and Jonathan reminds me like the same.
Do you know him?
No, I don't know Jonathan Banks, but obviously listen. He was a fighter. He was trained by Emmanuel Stewart. I'm a big love Emmanuel Stewart, right? So. Look up to him. And obviously I've watched so much footage of Emmanuel Stewart train his fighters, and watching Jonathan Banks hold the pads for Triple G reminded me of Manny holding pads for his fighters, whether that be Tommy Hearns or Miguel Cotto and so on and so on. It's exciting to see. Can you give that Tiger new stripes, right? So we would say that the Tiger
he's 37 years old.
Yeah, that he's not going to get new stripes. But listen,
he's got to make the bosses happy and keep him himself in the running for a final payday.
It's a catch-22. It looks like they're working on him being slick, working on him not getting hit as much.
Yep.
But let's be honest, people check in for Gennady because they want to watch Gennady walk people down, take shots, and have those moments where he takes a shot. And
there's not too many of those days left.
He fires you back.
You don't want to be.
I don't think that Gennady.
You don't want to be taking those shots this
He
age.
seems pretty sturdy, man. The only person, there was a photo going around of his face after the Canelo fight, which even leads me to believe even more. Like, come on, Triple G, man, you gotta let this go. You know you lost the fight. Like, have a moment of self-reflection where as a fighter that
There was a video, a picture of his face after the second fight.
Yeah, the second fight.
And
Triple G is clearly you could just see him he was beat up. I mean, he's like bruised and marked up.
Oh, okay. So who released this? So is it, this is relevant because it got
solo
sent out.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
One of these meme pages, one of these Pheno Boxing or
but Pheno Boxing, so the thing about it is, but still, this I really wish at the end of Triple G's career, which seems like it's going towards the limelight, and although. Maybe not. I mean, look at Manny Pacquiao, right? God, Triple G, man, I really wish he would have faced some other names. Like at the end of the day, I can only give you a nod, for Canelo, and if we're talking about legacy, I don't know if I'm going to give you that. If 5 years from now, I have to see what Danny Jacobs does with the
you don't think they're going to put a BJ Saunders against Triple G, right?
No, well, they should. Right? I mean, why not?
But that would be one. I mean,
they got Demetrius Andrade and they got Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
You think they're going to feed either of those guys to Triple G? Probably not, because those guys can probably box Triple G's. Probably like Canelo, be successful boxing him.
Well, I mean, I think they should because.
But at the end of the day, if I'm to look at Triple G and say, hey, look, Triple G, 10 years down the road from now, I'm going to say, who did he beat? I think I'm going to talk about Curtis Stevens and Gabriel Rosado. And
David Lemieux.
You're not going to know David Lemieux's name in 7 years from now. That's just, who did David Lemieux beat? You're not looking back on. We're talking.
like Gabe Rosado, I don't know.
Okay, we're talking about guys. We're talking about fighters and looking back at like you being the baddest of your time.
Yeah.
You look
You've driven that point.
You look at Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya beat a bunch of killers, right?
Yeah.
Pernell Whitaker beat a bunch of people. Floyd beat a bunch of people. You're gonna go back and be like, oh, he beat this person. Who did Triple G beat? This is even what I'm saying about with Danny Jacobs.
So Triple G is that same problem at the 2000s.
Gennady, stop chasing Canelo. Canelo did what he was supposed to do. He fought a bunch of other world champions.
Well, if you were him, you would chase him too
famous.
because it's your last payday, and the only thing people are going to tune into.
Well,
no one's going to tune in to see you fight
Is he in it for legacy or is he in it for money?
Money.
Okay, well then go chase Canelo. But Canelo, at the end of the day, Gennady, there should be no. At the end of the day, when you retire and you're looking back at and you're looking at your legacy, I'm not sold. Period. Well, Gennady, I'm going to give you your props. You beat Danny Jacobs. Well, who did Danny Jacobs beat? We're talking facts here. We're talking very
Peter
long.
Cohen.
Okay, so Kid, you beat Kid Chocolate, and who did Kid? I can go down. No one's gonna look at Kid Chocolate 5 years from now, right? I mean, aren't
you friends with like the camp?
I mean, listen, it's not to say that Kid Chocolate is still active. It's not to say that he can get around the right people and do great things. I think that he can, but in order to be one of the greatest of your generation, I mean, you gotta be out. You gotta be out there beating the names. I mean,
right? That's the problem.
Manny's in his twilight. And who is he facing? Keith Thurman. No, that's a G.
That is
a G. That is one of the baddest motherfuckers to do it.
Yeah.
Period. Don't put Triple G's name with Manny Pacquiao's name. Not around me.
No.
I'll fucking check you. I'll be like, man, go to the corner.
No, because here's the other thing. Triple G didn't move up in weight.
Manny 118 to 54.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, give me it's 8 weight classes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or it might,
but 54. Who did he fight at 54? One stop there. Or what? I can't remember.
Shit.
Oh, it might have been Chris Algieri.
Claudia, right? Joshua Claudia's at 47 or 54.
I thought those were 47.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. But you get talking about a guy that is in. I think he's 41, right? Or 42, I can't remember.
I think
but okay, so you know who I'm gonna fight? I'm gonna fight Keith Thurman.
He's 40.
He's 40. But Triple G like.
Who do you like in that fight? Keith Thurman.
No, I like Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, let me tell you why. Manny Pacquiao. Nothing.
Keith Thurman was getting hit on easy stuff on stuff that he shouldn't have got hit by when he fought Riverside Rocky.
There's nothing that exactly.
You know what I mean? I was like, damn, like I root for the guy, Southern California guy, but I wasn't expecting him to give Keith Thurman so much trouble.
Right.
Let Garcia's
and there's nothing that Keith Thurman brings to the table that Manny Pacquiao hasn't already seen.
Right.
Period. I mean, and I'm glad that.
How tall is Keith Thurman though? He's not
he's
too much
probably
taller.
about 5'9", but I don't think that height's gonna play.
It's not the biggest. It's not the tallest guy he's probably faced. Manny's probably. When Manny faced De La Hoya is tall. He's like 5'10".
I mean, Manny. At the end of the day, man, Manny's such a G. Like you got to have all the respect in the world for this guy. He goes, oh, you know what? You know what? Go ahead. I'll fight Keith Thurman. And I do believe that Manny would fight Terrence Bud Crawford. I think that Manny would fight Earl, right? Because we're talking about, a real.
Well, he might have to if he ends up winning it.
But we're talking about one of the baddest motherfuckers.
PBC needs to start consolidating these weight because it's most like.
I mean, that goes for Earl too. Earl's gonna have to move up too soon. I mean, Earl,
he's big.
Earl, if you're not gonna make the fight happen with Crawford, do us all a favor. Move up, bro.
Yeah.
If your people don't want to make the fight,
it's the Bob Arum.
If Arum and PBC don't want to get together, and you guys aren't gonna break bread, you guys aren't gonna fight each other. Do us a favor, Earl. You move up because at the end of your career, when we're looking at you, and you probably could be a champion at 160.
But Earl
could probably be a champion
might as well
at
go
160.
ahead and might
as well get them 54 belts,
right?
And go and see where Earl, to me, as he grows, can end up being a champ at 160. So
fair, but I would like to see them at least. PBC could at least consolidate their 3 belt holders with Sean Porter and with Thurman. Obviously, he has a fight on the books, but. I just don't. Do you see Sean Porter as a world champion in the same division that Bud Crawford has a belt and
Sean Porter's the interesting
and Spence has a belt?
Interesting dude because at any given night, if Sean Porter's on, just because he runs so deep, as like the physical aspect of this guy, Sean Porter, and he can box. Like he is evolving himself to box better. He can give anybody a hard time just because he's going to get in your space, and he's like the little engine that could.
Yeah,
right?
but I would really like to see Spence start consolidating those belts before he moves up.
Do I think that he could beat those names? Like I'm not gonna say, I'm gonna go with Sean Porter. No, I'm not gonna just go out there and go with Sean Porter. But if Sean Porter did something like beat somebody like that, Sean Porter
beat Ugas for real.
I thought he beat Ugas. See, no, I thought that he beat you. First of all, I got to beat the champ, right?
Yeah.
Number one, in my opinion, won the fight by 2 or 3 rounds. Ugas, Ugas.
But it's a different. Spence is a different animal, though.
Oh, absolutely. Spence is a killer. I mean, this is why. Why do you think I'd be eager for? Why do I think that Spence could go up and be a champ at 54 and be a champion at 60?
He's got size left.
Do you think that I think that Sean Porter could be a champion at 54 and 60? No. Absolutely not. No, he better stay right where you're at.
Yeah.
But no, do I think that Earl can do that? Earl can be on some legacy shit. Earl's a big guy. We don't know what he can do.
And he's still young. He's probably really good.
We really don't know where he can end up. But the guy can be very successful. Earl, don't do what Triple G did. Don't hang out too long in your division. Look at the other greats.
If you're looking for legacy shit.
You're looking for legacy shit. You're looking if we want to talk about your name when this is all said and done. And the same thing with Bud. Bud, move up.
Don't forget he just got to 147.
Yeah,
coming to 140.
But already on his legacy shit.
But don't you think he still wants a Spence fight? I think he does.
I think that those two want to fight each other.
I think Bud, because I absolutely.
Bud has a mindset.
I think he needs to take Spence's belt if you're Bud for your legacy, and then he moves up.
It's a tough fight because
he has moved up. Is what I'm saying. Like you got to do some work here at 140. He unified undisputed at 140.
Yeah.
He has one of the belts at 147.
Yeah.
He should make a little bit more of a statement at 147 when given the opportunity, politically and business wise.
It's difficult.
Come to the table.
We're talking about star power. Earl's done it Earl's done a better job himself. PBC has done a better job with Earl than what Bob Arum has done with Bud. I mean, they put Bud on. It's so hard to watch Bud fight. They put him on like ESPN
Plus,
and I'm like,
well, Bud got left behind in too many years of Manny being the more important product for Top Rank. That Bud had been behind.
Imagine you got Bud, who's literally like one of the most exciting fighters that I've seen in the last 10 years. That does fights out of 2 stances, temperament when the guy gets hit. His first reaction is to fight back, is to dog you right back. Exciting. Yeah. You could see where he can, in certain circumstances, he might even get a little hurt, but it's still cool with it. Like it eats it right up. Here you got this exciting guy.
Emotionally, they handled him different and early on, and it was different.
Bob Arum is older, and if you're a prospect out there that is thinking about going with Top Rank or something like that, listen, Bob has been how can you be passionate about building somebody up when this is the 40th year doing the same thing? I mean, I'm just being very logical, looking at how Bud has handled Crawford, and also that I believe how Bob has handled Crawford. I believe Bob could have handled Lomachenko probably better too. I mean, Loma's a big star, but he's not as big of a star if perhaps he's another guy.
What is he, 14-1? I mean, I feel like they've done plenty of good promotional work
at
this stage of his career.
You're looking at Lomachenko, and he's got everything that you could sell and market. I mean, the guy, good-looking kid, looks like a California surfer, although he can't speak English. But like you can, I mean, this is the kid.
Talk about that hairline. Did you see him in his most recent interview?
No.
He has a hilarious haircut right now. You need to check it out.
Yeah.
Just goes from a number 2 or 3 straight.
Oh no, I saw it.
It's like, oh, what?
It's like some 1980s dystopia bullshit.
Something else. I don't know.
It looks like No, I actually saw that. I was like, man, this is like.
He hasn't found the right barber yet. He's new.
Yeah. No, well, maybe the Ukrainians, it's Eastern European, hard, house trance
That's
music
something
style.
that you see a guy wearing an Adidas jumpsuit.
Right, like Ollie G or something. Yeah.
But jogging suit, whatever they call it.
But yeah, back to run full circle on it. Like Triple G, I think I've said enough about.
You hate him.
I'm not a Triple G hater. I'm just not. At the end of the day.
No, that's basically what I said. I wrote in that article is that this fight doesn't matter too much, but Triple G needs to impress his bosses because really what's left for him is a possible fight.
Who knows?
But only if it makes
yeah.
money, because it doesn't make any sense for Canelo's legacy. If you're his people, you don't care about that.
No, who gives a shit?
You've already
He's got the
beaten
2
twice.
dubs.
Right. Even though one of them was really close, you did beat him twice.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't help anything for your brand and your legacy moving forward.
Mm.
It could happen if things go well, if the money's right. But
Canelo knows too.
but
He
what's
wants,
more
he,
important
he wants
now
to be
is-
the greatest Mexican boxing of history,
Yeah.
right? Of all
So
time.
maybe he needs to take off BJ Sanders.
You think that's easy to do? Hell no. You got all
Yeah.
these, you got so many.
There's so many critics that are still stuck on.
So many legends
Yeah.
from Mexico. So yeah, I mean, shit, Canelo's cool, man. The money better be crazy for Canelo for him to go fight Triple G again. And if Canelo needs a new Lamborghini,
there's not much to think about it because it's already capped at. He already has his contract capped.
Oh yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
I would not.
So
I would not. Yeah, I'm not taking that fight. Give me a
Yeah.
break. I mean, I would literally, if I was around Canelo, say, Canelo, you did what you had to do. Let this dude, fight. Listen, if Triple G were to beat Billy Joe Saunders or Demetrius Andrade,
Then he earns it.
then he earns that shot. And it also says a lot because he just beat what? He just beat.
I think Billy Joe Sanders makes Triple G look silly.
Yeah, he just beats 2.
Right?
I think so. Yeah, I think he turns them all damn day, feints them. Makes him miss, makes him chase after him, that he plods around. All that hopping, I see what Jonathan Banks is trying to work with him on, but when you're working with a guy that's real slick like a Billy Joe Sanders or Demetrius that's slick, physical, and takes up a lot of space, none of that. I don't see that working with against them. So there's levels to this shit, specifically on movement and what Billy Joe brings and what Andrade. But if he were to do that. And then someone says, well, you want to see the Canelo rematch? I'd say, yeah. But the thing about Canelo, here's where there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that Canelo ends up in the ring with either Billy Joe or Andrade. Because that's who Canelo has proven to be in his character. Mm. He ends up fighting either of those guys in the next 4 fights. Because that's who Canelo is. Triple G, you're not that guy.
Yeah.
Like, be that guy. Be that guy, get those wins, and then we'll come back and then we can have this discussion.
I mean, they're all on the same network now, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll
after he gets rid of this.
We'll see what happens.
This Steve guy from Canada.
Yeah. So.
I keep on thinking of Steve Forbes because that was just because I don't know the guy's name is Steve. I'm having trouble.
Steve Forbes
was De La Hoya's opponent in that sort of.
And anybody
what is he even for?
Anybody that was going to fight Floyd Mayweather brought in Steve Forbes as sparring, and brought in Carl Dargan from North Philadelphia as sparring.
I don't even know who Carl Dargan is.
Oh, Carl Dargan was Carl Dargan is a national champion, trained by Nazim Richardson out of North Philadelphia. I think he caught a loss against a real tall opponent. I can't remember his name, but real tall. Anyways, great prospect. Yeah. I know that he came out of retirement recently, or that he had an injury. But
speaking of retirement, whether or not Zab Judah's fighting this weekend.
Yeah.
Zab Judah's fighting Hebrew Hammer. What's his name? Cletus something.
Yeah.
Out of New York.
Yeah.
And he's on. What do you think? I mean.
Listen.
Right?
I don't know because I'm not privy to Zab's camp. Logic would say that Zab is much too old to step back in the ring. That especially the abuse that comes along with the training, the way that your body feels, your ribs, you're sore, sparring, blood, sweat, spit, right, and just your body all of a sudden when all of a sudden you put this sport down, especially for a long period of time, for a year or two. If not, I don't know how long it was.
I don't know when was last. I mean, you can't just. When you saw this fight get signed, it was almost like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I just still funny. I don't remember his, whatever.
When you're wondering why guys don't do good on them coming back after retirement, it's typically because of that abuse that a fighter has to go through every day, especially in camp, and now they're going through that. So, and that's something that you let go for a couple of years. And these guys have been doing this since they were 9 or 10 or 12 or 15. And now they haven't had a taste of the good life, and it's hard to get them back on track. I don't know. You know, Zab could come
You
out.
think Zab's got money?
I
I think he needs money.
Look, there's no doubt that Zab made millions of dollars in his career. I mean, he did. You know, I don't know. I hope Zab has.
It's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't know.
And here we see it all.
I don't know.
Guy fighting.
Yeah, I don't know Zab's fun. I also know too that for any champion, and Zab Judah was a champion, that it's difficult to walk away from a sport.
Right.
Probably when you're used to seeing so much mediocrity. I mean, when you got a lot of guys that are doing good that shouldn't be in positions that they're in, and you're thinking like, hey man, you know, for example, I'm not going to say, but I've been around a couple world champions. I've seen these guys not be in the ring, had been, you know, literally haven't sparred for a year and a half or 2 years. They'll be a young up and coming prospect that everyone's talking about, and had situations where I'm in the gym and they're saying, well, you know what, he's just going to hop in. And then all of a sudden you see the champ hop in there and he's getting the best out of the prospect. The guy that everybody's talking about, the guy that is the main event fight that's going to be on ESPN, the guy that's going to be the
There's levels to this shit.
There's levels to this shit. So when you're looking at a guy could be a prospect, or a guy can literally be a contender, and you might think that he's a real deal, but he still is not a champ. And so these champions know that it's a very small, you know, a very small little group of guys that can actually be world champ. Zab Judah is an ex-champion. So maybe in his mind he thinks, man, I see these guys that are making money. I think that I can give such and such a hard night. Why wouldn't I take that fight when I see these guys are making $500,000 or making $1.5 million, even sometimes more? I could see maybe Zab's position in that. But, you know, it's going to be hard for Zab to be successful. I don't see it happening. That's just me being very logical, being very rational. I don't, you know, and there's been other fighters that have come back. And, you know, there was talks about Maidana coming back. He's another one coming back.
I'm glad you're saying no.
Yeah. So
it helped him kickstart the weight loss, and now,
Yeah.
he looks like he looks like a reasonable fat. Before he was obese.
yeah.
He looks like a reasonable fat right now. So hey, good for you. You made a good decision to not come back. Enjoy your retirement. And boy, if you see him on his social media, he's living a good life.
It's also
he's
too
enjoying his retirement.
That was I was, you know, remember looking at some of the things that Alex Ruiz was doing with him. Like, you can imagine this. Like, you're living a great life for 3 years. Like, I'm sure that Maidana is.
Having all the asados you could ever dream of.
You're in Argentina. The steak is great. The wine is better. The cheese, the baguette, whatever it is, right? So you're on your ranch, and you're living a great life. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, I'm gonna come out of retirement, and you come across Alex Ruiz. And I don't know if you saw what Alex Ruiz had. You know,
I know he puts the guys through.
Oh, he just literally put, you know, and I'm sure he's going about it in a very responsible way with Maidana, where he's trying to give him the right look at the right time. But yeah, I mean, shit, man. If you got a couple $1 million in your bank, even if you got 1 million or 2 million, and all of a sudden I have you at a track, and you're looking up at me, and I'm blurry, and all you can think about is your gut that's turning over, and you've got this rush of adrenaline. And you just want to sit there and puke your brains out. And I keep on looking at you. It's like, come on, you know, let's go, champ. Let's go. And I'm asking you to remember a part of you that you let go. The part that you do easily identify with
is the $1 million
$1 million that you still have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, guys, and that's another thing. What I was saying.
Hey, I mean, congrats to you, champ.
To even think about Andy.
We're glad you lost the weight.
Andy Ruiz, if I could talk to you right now, I know that the rumor is you made $7 million in this fight. Is the money going?
Andy Ruiz Jr.
Jr.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the money going to
Ruiz, which you just mentioned?
No, not Alex Ruiz. No, Andy Ruiz
Jr. Right,
Jr.
but it sounded very similar. Clarify.
Andy Ruiz Jr. If I could talk to you, I just want you to know that if you play your cards right, you could probably make $100 million as a heavyweight. That's if you get the rematch, you beat AJ, you can go start fighting a lot of the other, you know, have softer looks, fight those guys for $1 million, $2.5 million, $5 million.
And build that brand.
Build that brand. Lead up to the Deontay fight. And then all
you deserve sponsorships with Modelo. You deserve sponsorships.
Snickers, Ben & Jerry's, whoever wants to look after you.
Yeah.
So if I could talk, if you win this fight, and I really hope that you win this fight, right? The world is going to be in front of you. And I'd also say to him, but also be in mind, now that you have this money, knowing that your life has been completely changed forever, you have to look past that.
Get a cash flow from it.
Still have that drive and ambition. Mm-hmm. Because Andy, if you play this right, you're not just going to be the first Mexican American heavyweight champion. You can go
By
down
the way,
as
they're
being
being very
a
clear.
legend himself.
By the way, they're being very clear in saying first Mexican heavyweight.
Yeah, he's a very, very first Mexican. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
They're not saying Camp ain't saying first Mexican American. They're saying first Mexican.
Okay, so
and some guys on the internet are trying to disqualify. To me, it's say what he is. He's the first Mexican and first Mexican American. He's first Mexican period.
I mean, even
we haven't seen a
even
Mexican,
having a Chicano from LA. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm sure this means something to you too, right? Like, and because you grew up in Chicano gyms, like, you're like, at the end of the day, you're like, you're like
surprised as fuck. Hey,
but you're also like, fuck yeah, like no mama's way.
Yeah,
like,
I'm excited. I was excited.
Well,
I do remember back when I was younger in that gym in East LA, how excited people were for the fact that maybe Chris Arreola could.
Right. Yeah.
But that was totally different. It was even just I don't know. But the same concept.
There's a pride amongst Angelinos in LA. You know that Stephen A. Smith shit. You know about this, right?
Yeah, that idiot. I'm glad he got.
This is what I say about Stephen A. Smith. Look, man, there's gotta.
He also doesn't know shit about boxing, so
he doesn't know shit.
You don't get a chance to.
Here's the problem: is that if you're looking at people that are talking about boxing, Garrity and I are having conversations about boxing. We've earned the right to talk about boxing because we've been involved in boxing at different levels. This isn't something that just happened a year ago or 2 years ago. This is over decades,
been
right?
in the ring, got my face smashed.
Right. So Stephen A. Smith is in a position where he really knows nothing about boxing. He's a novice with the amount of knowledge that he's accumulated.
Nothing about the other sports too, but I don't know because I don't fall in those arenas. I don't know about basketball, football, and baseball. So he might be speaking utter bullshit in those two. But what I do know is boxing. And I do know that since ESPN has started to take a larger stake in boxing with their deal with Top Rank and now ESPN Plus is having things, every time he opens his mouth about boxing, I just want to fucking turn the TV off.
But my thing is that if you can be in that position where you have access to millions of people because you have that platform, which he does.
Educate yourself.
Educate yourself. Come on, man. And then what I was joking around with is Stephen A. Smith, man. I don't know if you know this about Mexicans in Los Angeles, but if you're running your mouth about Andy Ruiz Jr.
Good luck in the next Laker game.
Like just be mindful. Just be in a moment enough because someone could literally run up on you and world star you. They could clip you because
if you knew jack shit about Mexican boxing. Yeah. Is that some of the hardest hitting guys don't necessarily look the part.
Yeah,
because the body types aren't the same as black fighters. You know what I mean? You got the fat skinny, and those guys can still be fast and hard.
They're durable, tough. They're willing to get in there. They're grindy. They want to
look at
más golpes, hijo, more punches. Come on, like it's a different temperament that they bring. But when Stephen A. Smith was talking about that, and I was thinking to myself, man, this guy is probably in downtown Los Angeles all the time. And like, I don't know if he knows, but like Chicanos don't give a shit.
Yeah, look at Mikey Garcia though.
Yeah, Mikey.
One of the baddest fighters in several weight classes.
But doesn't
necessarily look ripped.
Mikey Garcia doesn't look.
That's what it. Like,
he's not going to be on the cover of Men's Health.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to be on one of these. Like,
so, but the fact that he doesn't understand that there could be a chubby guy that can be hit hard and be really fast, and he's surprised by that, and he tweets about it.
And stay in your lane, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay in your lane, like
especially in the realm of world where they don't give a fuck about.
I don't know anything about basketball since the Lakers were winning. And the only other time I paid attention is when the Lakers were winning in the 80s. So I could talk to you about the Celtics and the rivalries that were going on and the Detroit Pistons. But I knew it then. But even still, such a surface level understanding of boxing, I would never go on record and say anything about boxing.
But that's what not boxing,
about basketball.
ESPN runs a few stories. They feed the people, and the people all think they're experts because they can confirm what they've heard from ESPN.
Yeah.
And that's what the sports world is. Talk to my brother about football. He knows the X's and O's.
Yeah.
I don't know football to that level he knows. Yeah. I know football to the level that mediocre
Stephen A. Smith, man, you're annoying, bro.
But like Stephen A. Smith thinks he can apply that same recipe to the sport of boxing. And boxing fans will eat them up and chew them out.
Boxing is different because at the end of the day, I think that these guys are getting hit in the head. And people that are involved in boxing, we don't fuck with you. fuck with Stephen A. Smith after reading that shit.
Yeah.
Period. I don't, I hope he does get clipped. Like, literally, I hope you're in downtown LA and someone runs up on you. Like, give me and it does mean a lot that he's the first Mexican heavyweight champion. This shit means a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, period. Like, this means something, and I just couldn't see he really was out of line, really out of his lane. And I mean, I already, I never watched
It's good though,
because
it just makes him look more of a fool. He's opened his mouth several times about boxing, and I thought he was sounding stupid.
Yeah, like.
But this was a chance for him to really get caught, just being dumb, and disrespecting the champion.
I can't believe they put this dude up on TV like that too. I imagine they put him on TV because he plays the antagonist, right?
People like. I think he might for ESPN. He plays a little bit of the Floyd.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
I think people like. They like getting mad at a black guy right in his mouth.
Right, for sure. I can see that. That's how you come out.
I don't mind the way you made your career, but when you talk about boxing
is different.
And you disrespect,
like
literally the last sport that you should disrespect because
mixed martial arts.
There's guys at 118 that can knock his ass out.
MMA and boxing. There's the guys like you said, guys at 118.
Boy, they're gonna knock you out. So I would just shut the fuck up.
That literally, and then. This is a very man sport. Like if there's a problem,
like you and I, when we have some critique, we're gonna preface it with, "Now I would never try to disregard this fighter because although I have a critique here, I'm not gonna say he's shit because." Quite honestly, he's leagues above me, and in sparring, he fucked me up in the gym.
Even saying that somebody wasn't shit, if you're talking about a fighter,
but
saying
people
they're
who've
not
never
shit,
been in the ring don't have that respect because they don't understand.
When I'm talking about Gennady, obviously Gennady's a great, incredible fighter. But anything I say on this podcast, if Gennady and Jonathan Banks were next to me, I say it right to their eyes. That doesn't mean anything. They would also know what? Oh, this guy knows boxing. There's a respect that comes along with that.
And you also admit that Gennady would fuck you up, right?
Of course, Gennady would fucking.
That's what I'm saying.
But
that's the problem.
I know that Gennady would fucking.
That's the problem with the
I don't want to get hit by that man.
Like followers and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't want to get fucking hit with
Gennady.
So, but of course, there's a mutual respect that resonates in boxing. Even when you're an opponent, we know as an opponent, we say, okay, well, this guy's getting clipped. And I know, okay, well, at the end of the day, man, the guy got underneath those lights. He put it, he had his mouthpiece in, and he said, fuck it, I'm gonna let my hands go. I'm gonna fight.
I'm gonna try to pull that punch.
Stephen A. Smith, man, don't talk about boxing, man. Just stay in your lane. Talk about basketball or football, whatever it is that you talk about, and just shut up, man.
Yeah. On that note, we'll shut up.
Yeah, but Stephen A. Smith, if you ever want that work, you can come by Jack Rabbit's. I'll give you the work, baby. And I'm 42. I don't know how old you are, and I'm sure we're around each other's weight division. So if you ever need that work, stop on by Long Beach East Side. So,
thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Please subscribe. Please leave a review and share this episode with somebody if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.